Lynn.
I'm Amanda.
And this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We're cutting through the fluff and cracking open what it really takes to build a business and life that you actually want.
No gurus, no gatekeeping, just real talk, big action, and the badass energy you need to scale and slay.
Some episodes, it's just us.
And sometimes we bring on powerful guests with stories that'll hit home.
Either way, this is not about playing small.
It's about going all in.
Let's get after it. Hey there, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We are back again and excited, as always, to talk to you a little bit about a program we call R.E.S.E.T, or a framework that we call R.E.S.E.T, because I think at this time of year, this is the time to reframe, reset, restore your ideas, and go into the new year like you mean it. So let's talk a little bit about R.E.S.E.T.
Yeah, I mean, we've been using this framework for a while, and we talked about it in our Finish Strong, Start Fresh Summit, which we have annually with a ton of speakers. It was so awesome. Make sure you're in the know for next year. Anywho, we love frameworks. We love structure. We love SOPs. We love things that are easy to recall, that are kind of ingrained in us, that become just second nature. And the R.E.S.E.T framework really was birthed to help us just like come back to where we need to come back to, no matter what's going on, no matter the chaos, no matter whatever. It's not about pivoting or having new ideas, which are great, but it's about like, okay, it's almost like the spring cleaning, which I do love a good spring.
We do love a good spring cleaning.
Oh my God.
Or fall cleaning or weekend cleaning.
Yes. So let's talk about first what each one stands for, and then we'll go into a deep dive. So R.E.S.E.T. R stands for reflect and reassess, we'll say. E is for eliminate the noise. S is for strategy or systemizing strategy. E is for execution or energizing that execution. And then T is for tracking and tweaking. So that's the framework in its essence. So let's dive in.
Yeah. So one of the things we want to emphasize is that not every season or entrepreneur in general needs this big breakthrough. You know, it doesn't have to be like every time you start a new year, it's this breakthrough moment. Sometimes you just need to reset things. Sometimes you just need to adjust, just need to tweak a little bit because, you know, I think we both have felt that the use of the word burnout it's like an epidemic. Of using the word burnout. We personally don't really believe in burnout. The concept of that doesn't really come from doing too much. It comes from doing too much of what isn't working and letting it drag you down. So the R.E.S.E.T framework really is about stripping away some of that noise and helping momentum return again. Because as entrepreneurs, we constantly are revamping things. We have ideas that are generating all the time. And so you don't always need to redo everything. Sometimes you really just need to reset. So that's what this is all about. So resetting before the business kind of forces you to.
Yeah. Man, I can think of stories. Amanda used to be so intense with, what about this? What about this? What about this? We could do this. We could do this.
I still am, but it's internal now.
Yeah. She is. But I mean, that goes to, there's so many parts of the R.E.S.E.T framework that we would use when that would come up. And don't get me wrong, like I also will do the same thing, but Amanda, that's like the way her brain works. Anywho, so let's dive into R, which is reflect and reassess. And what I think of, there's so many different aspects to this that I could talk about, and I feel like it could be a whole podcast conversation in itself, but it's where you pause. To me, this is the pause. And this is where you tell the truth to yourself. You stop and you look around what's working, what's not. And this is where you stop lying to the people. It doesn't matter if you're lying to the people outside, but you stop lying to yourself. You really get down to the truth, to the nitty gritty. It's not about journaling for hours and hours, which, you know, I know some people are journalers, but it's about like really looking at everything and asking yourself the difficult questions and being truthful about it and saying, you know, is this right? Do we still keep going? And Amanda and I literally just had this conversation 2 days ago about like, okay, these are our results. We want these results. What are we not doing, or what can we do better? So looking at from the what are we not doing, but also what can we do better kind of aspect. So the two different angles of it, and really just asking ourselves really deep, obviously questions that are relevant, but making sure that we're just like calling ourselves out, absolutely saying, did we actually do the work that we need to do in order to be able to get those results that we wanted? Like, where are the shortfalls? Where are the opportunities? Where, kind of a SWOT analysis, if you would.
Yes. Reflection without honesty is absolutely useless. Absolutely useless. And we talk about this a lot, but entrepreneurs and business owners in general will sometimes confuse effort with effectiveness. And so if you're not really being honest with the work you're putting in and the work you're getting out of it, then this whole year is already shot. I hate to say that way, but this whole year is already shot. If you're not looking at those down and dirty, true analytics, stripping away the ego, stripping away this, I was busy and doing all these things, like strip that away and really look at your revenue sources, really look at the allotment of time, of how you use your time, your energy output. Where do you feel yourself being energized versus being sucked dry, like vampire style? And what's your client quality like? Do you like the clients that you work with, or are you just kind of going through the motions because you feel like you need the money for it? So really, it comes down to those really hard questions. What did create the results? Not just the busy work that you did in the background to make yourself feel like you were more important than you are. What drained you, but didn't have a return? So sometimes things are going to drain you. Like not every single thing that you do in work is going to be this light a fire under you, I want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning kind of feeling. Okay. That's never going to be the always. I don't know if I can use two absolutes, but it's never the always. Okay. So what drained you without the return? And where and why did you abandon original strategy? And was that the right move? Because sometimes we have these ideas, we go down one path and then we get influenced to go a different path and it doesn't work the way we thought. And then it's like, was the first path the path? Was this the path? Like, don't judge, just assess. Don't judge yourself, just assess and be brutally honest, because that's the only way to grow.
Yes. That inner dialogue within ourselves, within our business, within our bubble, and holding our own self accountable, and not in a beating up way, but in a way of like, okay, where next, can absolutely change the trajectory of ourselves, of our family, of our business. And so this reflect and reassess aspect, that pause and looking around, is going to give you the best way to move forward. So eliminate the noise. So many people resist this one. The internal noise and the external noise. This is getting rid of the busy work. This is absolutely letting go of the things that look good but don't move the needle. This is knowing when to call it. It's outdated identities. It's people pleasing. It's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. It's people in your circle. We've said it a few times, that busy work as well. It could be even a program or an aspect of your business that you've been really trying to push, but like you're just not having success. Okay, what can you have success on? So noise could be so many different networks that you belong to. Are they serving the purpose that you need them to serve? This reset framework you can use in a big way to like question your life and your business, and even in a small way, like the networks that you belong to or a program that you have or whatever. And so eliminating all the noise around it and saying, okay, what's just noisy and not giving me my ROI? And return on investment doesn't necessarily mean dollar bills. Obviously, when it comes to business, it could mean other things like exposure, accountability, whatever. It could mean lots of different things, but eliminating that noise, cleaning out the clutter is absolutely essential.
It is. It's cutting those unnecessary commitments, all the mental clutter. And really, the noise that we're talking about is anything that's stealing focus from producing the results that you're looking for. And again, it's results that you're looking for. It's not necessarily a monetary thing. It could be that you're looking for, less work time, or that you want to build your team differently, or you're looking to hit certain goals, whatever it is. So anything that's taking away focus from those real results, that's the noise. So, this could be outdated goals or goals that aren't really yours. It's all those kind of just in case commitments that are killing your momentum, or commitments that you made, but you were just a different person when you made it. My old joke of like, I'll say yes to a social engagement and I was a different person when I said yes, but the time the social engagement comes around, do I want to go? No, I don't want to go. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, what is it that's an unnecessary commitment? Maybe it's like Lynn said, maybe it's an extra offer or an outdated offer, or maybe it's outdated or extra software that's making your sales process clunky. There's a lot of things that could be working against you that you don't even necessarily think about because you're in it all the time. So when you think of your less noise is what is going to equal clearer decisions and faster decisions. And listen,
better momentum.
But cutting stuff out is not failing at those things. And I say that because that was my opinion for a very long time. If I was going to quit something, it made me a quitter. And I obviously failed at that thing, even to the point of like, if I'm going to sell a business, I must have failed. Like, no, I didn't fail the business. I've moved on from it. So cutting is not failure, it is leadership. And you have to make the choice to be the leader you want to be. And that means you're going to have to cut things. You can't be everything for everyone. You're not pizza.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that you said that it's not failure. And it really goes back to the outdated identity as well, that identity that is kind of controlling us that we're not quite sure, but we're ready to shed. We just don't realize it yet. I was thinking of a simple story, but one of my dear friends, and actually they've been a longtime client as well. Every year we would do goals and, at the end of the year for the following year. And one of her things that she was going to switch about eliminating the noise was she was going to evaluate, so assess like all the networks, because she did a lot of charity, all of the boards that she was on, all of the leadership positions, and start to eliminate the noise. So she started to cut things, and very little. It was hard for her to cut some, but she didn't allow new noise to come in. And so she had to learn to say no, and she had to learn how to assess in the moment if this was something that she wanted to put onto her plate, and really have almost like a boundary or a framework. And I remember her going through everything and looking at it. And part of it was her identity, that she had this need to make sure it's part of her purpose, but helping everybody. And at the end, it wasn't helping her. It was taking away from her. It was taking away from her family. And that's her most important. I'm not saying other people aren't, but if you're not taking care of the people in your home, and it was just that her energy and everything was spread so thin that she wasn't able to give truly what she wanted to give. And so making those small adjustments, she showed up better at her positions. She felt like she was participating better as a mom, as a partner, and it just made her shine better. And so I can remember this very clearly when she went through this. And it was hard, because a big part of it was the outdated identity that didn't serve her, or the belief of that identity, I should say.
Absolutely. I have a client, very similar concept of, holding on to this thing. And many times it comes on, it's like super stressful and she hates it while she's there, but she's like, oh, I have to do it because of this, this, and this, and this. And I'm like, doesn't do anything for you but create stress. And it's like this ego. Anyway, eliminate things. It's really okay to let go of things.
Yeah.
I promise. All right. S. Systemize the strategy, or strategize, systemize, lots of things we love, those S words. But this is turning all the insight that you've gained from the first two, the R and the E, from reassessing and from eliminating, and then turning that into some structure. So these decisions that you make are becoming the systems that you're going to implement, the strategy that we want to repeat over and over again, so that you're not reinventing the wheel every single time you wake up in the morning. So, think of it as you're not going to be motivated every single day. It's not going to happen. So what is that thing that system that's going to be in place when you're not motivated, that can help you get over decision fatigue, that can, take the chaos and make it a little bit clearer for yourself and your team?
Yeah. I always think of structure creates freedom. My Swedish brother from another mother would always say that. And that's true in the systems and the strategy. And a strategy without a system is just hope. It's like, Just throwing it out there and being like, yep, I hope that this will happen. I love that you mentioned about like it kind of living in your head. If it lives in your head and you don't put it on paper and you don't share it with your team, then it's not really a strategy either. So strategy and system together with that structure is where it becomes executable. You're able to take those steps forward. It gives you clarity. It gives you something to go back to and assess. But the strategy should be systemized and put into your calendar as well. You're reflecting and you use the reset framework to kind of just like, is it working? Is it not? How do I move forward? Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's just a dream. It's just kind of a wish if you don't have some kind of system and strategy along with it. We've done so many podcasts on systems, on strategy, SOPs, structure, and how important it is. I feel like go back and listen to a couple of those for that.
Beating a dead horse.
Yeah,
No, for sure. I mean, this is follow-up systems. This is content systems. This is sales systems. This is all the systems, because repeatable things are going to beat exciting things when it comes to your business. Again, if it's in your head, it doesn't matter. I mean, I can think of the time I had a hurricane that I was going through and I lost power for a week. My team was like, hey, this didn't get uploaded, and I had no way to contact them. No one had any idea how to update stuff. And I was the cog in the wheel. I mean, I was the reason that it was the bottleneck of our own business. And that was one of those things where I failed to put it in the system, and it was my failure. And that's the kind of thing that comes up. You think that we don't need a system. I'll always be there. Like, when am I going to take a day off? Of course I can be the one. No, that's not how it works. That's not a system. We want to make things that are repeatable, that don't rely on you being present. That's how you protect your time and energy and your sanity. You've got to have something that can sustain. Yeah, how you gain and how you grow. And it's absolutely essential if you're wanting to go beyond just owning a job.
Yes. E for execution, or energizing the execution. So we talked about the systems and strategy, and now it's time to execute. So execution without action, you just have something on paper. If you wrote it out, like, yes, things can manifest and blah, blah, blah. And I am the woo-woo one, and I know that it happens. But Amanda and I, again, have done so many podcasts on action. You have to put in the effort and the action. If you are not adding energy to the execution and you're just kind of like going through it, it's more of a reactive, it's more of a going through the motions. You're not going to get the same result as if you infuse execution or those actions with energy. And you can do that through having a great vision, through having clarity, through so many of the things, having the systems like we talked about. And also, really, since we're talking about reset, and we don't necessarily, like Amanda said, believe in burnout. We know that clinically there are things that are clinical, but from that depletion state, right? So if you are trying to execute, especially something new, and you are completely depleted without some kind of like spark in you, you're not going to get the same results. There are ways you can initiate and activate that spark even when you're in the depletion mode. It could be taking a couple of days rest. It could be clearing out it could be so many, ending a relationship. It could be so many different things. But really, also, I want to add in here, I was going to say something else, but also I want to add in here in the execution phase is that, remember, and we've talked about this, is that there are seasons, right? There are seasons. We just did the how to break up your business into 4 quarters. And there are seasons where you're doing certain things. So if you're constantly pushing to launch, and that's the energy that you have all year long, then you're not really going to be able to have that succinct, channeled energy for your true launch. If you feel like every appointment is the same type of appointment when they're not, then that energy is distributed throughout all of these appointments that are just appointments versus a sales call, a networking, just hanging out with friends. So really, when you are trying to push or categorize things when it's not necessary to categorize it as that, or push in the same way, even in most of this is in the mind, but push in that way, then you're sucking the energy from the execution of when you need it. So it's kind of 2 different kind of angles that came up.
Absolutely. And I think about the two E's kind of being very related because you've just eliminated a bunch of stuff. And then often when you're trying to re-energize and you're trying to like activate things, you suddenly start overcommitting. And then you have poor boundaries. And then you start running offers that you absolutely hate because so-and-so said that they want to buy it. And a lot of things creep in this, in this E, as it were, because you just eliminated stuff. So a lot of times you feel like you have room. You're like, oh, I have eliminated all these things that weren't serving me. So now I have room to shove in all these other things that are also not going to serve me. So really be careful of that when you're in this phase here, because if you are a classic overworker like me, this feels like the time like, oh, well, look at all the room and the time and the energy I have now because I've just eliminated all these things. Let me just shove a bunch of stuff that's not going to do anything for me in there and try to pretend to myself that busyness that I just added on is effective in any way. And you do that for a whole year until you reassess. Don't do that. So think about those energy leaks and try not to shove things into the holes and the spaces that you think you created, because those holes and spaces are for creativity and for growth and for mapping out a bigger picture idea. They're not for you just to shove things in to put on your calendar.
Yeah. I mean, we just talked about it too with one of our really dear long-term, well, she's been a longer term co-client of ours through the Badasserie. And she was one of our OGs. And she's had a couple of times where she just goes away for a week, sometimes forced, sometimes not forced by choice. And she comes back and she's like, I'm just so much clearer. I have so much more energy. I understand. So she's using the reset framework, but then she's also bringing the energy to the specific executions that she needs to in the way that the energy needs to show up. And I know we've talked about it several times, and I love this. And these are important individually as well. So I love that you put that. Okay, so the last one, track and tweak, T.
Absolutely nothing is static. Nothing is going to stay the same. You must measure what matters and adjust without drama and chaos. So think of it, I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in the emotion of something, but really measure what matters and adjust from there. Try to take the emotion out of it. I mean, I'm always for taking the emotion out of it if I can. So not vanity metrics. We want to think about things like cash flow, conversion rates, capacity, the things that are really tangibly measurable and have a measurable ROI. Not a vanity metric. Like, it's great if you had 1 million followers. That's awesome. But did those 1 million followers mean anything? I actually was watching a reel today, someone talking like, I've made millions on social media. I just went viral, and that viral reel that had billions of views got me $0. And that reel that I made that had 100 views made me $10,000. So again, think about real metrics, not vanity metrics. And again, tweaking will beat overhauling everything any day of the week. If something is working or was working and suddenly it's not, don't scrap it. Just kind of like adjust it, tweak it a little bit, and fix only with the parts that are wrong rather than the parts that are broken. We don't want to replace the entire system the second something's not working.
Especially if you have proof that it works. Every time I think of the track and tweak, I think of the athletes. Essentially, I can remember I used to get a lot of fouls. And I was good at drawing fouls. I also got a lot of fouls on me, but I was good at drawing fouls as well because I was always I knew how to draw a foul, and not in the over dramatic fall on the floor, cry like a little bitch, draw a foul. That was never me, but in a way that the ref would call a foul. But I sucked at free throws. And it wasn't that I didn't have the form. It wasn't that I just had to make little tweaks. And I think of, I actually remember doing a paper during that time where I was really practicing my free throws on athletes and how world-class athletes, those that are world renowned, and that, the golfer that might hit the hole-in-ones and have a couple of off days, or that are super close. It's not in completely reprogramming his body in order to learn how to hit that hole-in-one. It's small little tweaks in what he already has to be able to get him to get those hole-in-ones or the better, whatever. I don't remember what golf is, birdies, whatever it is. It was a long time ago that I wrote that, but I remember writing it. It was about golfers. I mean, there was other aspects too about other famous. I mean, I loved basketball, obviously. Anywho, getting digressing, but track and tweaking. So it's in the small tweaks that you're able to really make the difference. And when you have a system, right? When you have a system and a strategy, you know what to tweak because you're able to track things. It's not just like, okay, this is what I did today, what worked, what didn't. You have that consistency, you have data to be able to track and tweak. You cannot really track and tweak effectively if you do not have things that are kind of systemized or that are the same. If you're eating an apple, then you eat an orange, then you eat a banana, then you eat a pineapple, like, and you have a rash every single day. Like, you don't know what's causing that rash if you think it's the food because you're eating a different food every single day. So tracking and tweaking. And I love that Amanda said, through the chaos, through the drama, and perfection. Like, it's not about perfection. It is about the little itty bitty things that we can do to calibrate. It reminds me of like the old school radios when you would sit and just kind of like tune in every once in a while. Like, it would go out of tune, even though you didn't touch the dial, but then you'd have to, I know you youngsters might not know what we're talking about, but then you have to go and just like move it just a little bit again.
It's like holding the antenna, trying to get the TV to,
man, I do
to connect. Good times. Out of foil hat, all good times.
Yeah. And I think also tracking and tweaking builds agility. It builds agility, and agility is a muscle that we should be trying to build. Resilience and agility are two muscles that I feel like we don't put enough attention to in our business, in our lives, to build. And we can do that so that way when, shit hits a fan or things go sideways, we already have that muscle built within us. And doing this reset framework and tracking and tweaking helps reinforce and build, in my opinion, agility.
Absolutely. And I cannot stress enough, you must detach the ego from the data. Detach the ego from the data, because calm, cleared adjustments will always be these huge emotional pivots that you make just because you've had a bad day, or, your life is falling apart. Life's lifing in the background. So make those adjustments without the ego, without the emotional attachment, and it will usually run a lot smoother. We're not saying to ignore your intuition or, ignore that gut feeling that you have that something is going to work or not, but data-driven results are going to get you further than just, I have a sinking suspicion kind of feelings. I mean, I'm not the woo-woo ones, but I will still always choose data over how I feel about it.
I think it's a combo, but you can't do it if you don't track it. Anyway, that is our reset framework. It's not a one-time thing. It's kind of like, and you've heard us talk a lot about the Eisenhower matrix. Amanda spent over 10 grand to take a class, and she really introduced it to our team. And it's something that we use instinctively. Like, it's constant in the background. It's something that we practiced, learned, and it's constant in our background. And this reset framework is just a way to look at things, to be able to give you a structure. So that way you're just not willy-nilly in it and kind of look at it. And as you build it and use the reset framework for reasons, seasons, lifetimes, right? Situations that are big, that are small, in the day, in the year, whatever it is, it really helps you to ground back into what needs to happen, in my opinion, instead of just like being reactive or whatever, or even numbing out and going through the motions. And so we love the reset framework. We hope that you love it too, and that you're using it. But it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant. It's always operating in the background.
Yeah, it's not a one-time thing. And it's also not starting over. It's more like restarting your computer, not throwing your computer away and getting a new one. Okay. So it's just a little refresh when all the tabs are too many. Just get a refresh. But we want to know, what did you take out of this podcast? How are you going to use this reset framework? What are you going to eliminate this year that's going to get you to the next level? We want to hear from you. So drop it in the comments wherever you're listening. We want to hear what you are doing this year that's different.
Yeah. And if this resonated with you and you feel it will resonate with someone else, please go ahead and share our podcast with that individual. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We definitely want you to be in the know of all of the podcasts that come out. We do release a new podcast every single week. If there's a topic that you want to hear a bit more about, or you want us to dive in a bit deeper, please let us know. Leave it in the comments or shoot us an email or on our social media.
All right. Until next time.
Get after it. Thanks for tuning in. But remember, listening is not doing.
Take what you heard today and move.
Share the episode, leave us a review, and tag us when you take action.
Head over to the pursuitofbadasserie.com and see how we're helping entrepreneurs get results without the fluff.
Until next time,
let's get after it.